tv.org.
Next, Internet pioneer and author Clifford Stoll discusses his book, Heretic, Why Computers Don't Belong in the Classroom and Other Reflections by a Computer Contrarian. Mr. Stoll has been working with computers since the mid-1960s. He talked about his views at the Northwest Book Fest in downtown Seattle.
Okay, what is this?
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Northwest Book Fest. Thank you for joining us. A special thanks to Attachmate for sponsoring the William Stafford stage this afternoon. We would like to invite you to become a friend of the Northwest Book Fest today and receive the 10% discount on the festival merchandise, invitations to the year-round literary events, an advanced brochure to the prior next year's festival, and other wonderful premiums. I'm Mona Lake Jones, Seattle's Poet Laureate, and it gives me great pleasure to be a part of this book fest and to invite you to listen to our guests this afternoon. Please join me, if you will, in welcoming pioneer of the internet and self-proclaimed Luddite, Clifford Stoll, in an interview with Seattle Times' Paul Andrews as they discuss Clifford's latest title, High-Tech Heretic, Why Computers Don't Belong in Classrooms, and Other Reflections by a Computer Contrarian. Please remember... And we'd like you to please remember that he will be available for signing books in the 6th floor lobby signing area immediately following our afternoon presentation. Please, another hand for Clifford. You're in for a treat.
Thanks so much, Mona. It sounds like this group may be familiar with our guest today. If you're not, be advised that 3 books and years of ranting about the internet have not slowed him down, and I thoroughly expect him to jump up on top of this table by the time we get rolling. In case you're wondering about the cameras, this is being taped by C-SPAN, and it's going to appear on Book TV. And so we can all look forward to a rerun, and maybe you can tape it and show it to your friends. Cliff doesn't need an introduction, but I thought I would throw in a few comments anyway, since that's partly my role. I was going to say that to my far left is Cliff Stoll, but I see he's actually moved. Yeah, okay, stage right. He's looking over my shoulder now. I hope I can get away with this. Hey.
Lies.
No, they're not lies. Come on. I first talked with Cliff, and I can't believe this is true, but it was 10 years ago. When he was promoting his first book, Cuckoo's Egg, and was heading off the charts at that point, wildly popular. One of the first books really about technology to gain a broad audience, a mainstream audience. And I was supposed to interview him. He was going to come up to Seattle on tour, and we were going to sit down together. I instead got a call, and he said, well, he said, I'm not going to be able to make our appointment, but he said, I do have a good excuse. He said, I was on the Nimitz Freeway when the earthquake hit. And if you remember back then, the Nimitz actually collapsed, so Cliff was a very lucky guy. Not that he couldn't have probably eluded any falling rocks and concrete on sheer will, but I do have to say that was, I've had several appointments canceled since then. I have not heard a better excuse than that, and all was well. But since then, he's also written a book, this Silicon Snake Oil, where he first questioned kind of the incredible hype and wild predictions for the internet, and his most recent book, which is High-Tech Heretic, and picks up on that theme, refines it a little bit more. He's looking mainly at education throughout most of the book, first half anyway, and just expands on his thoughts and philosophies regarding what's happened in terms of technology in our culture. I do have to share an amusing thing. Cliff messaged me this morning saying, looking forward to the panel, I'll see you in a while. And I messaged him right back saying, good, you know, see you there. And I got, I got back within seconds an automated reply, and it says, "Hi there. Apologies for this mechanical reply to your mail. I'm way backlogged in email, and I'm spending less time at the computer. While I read all my mail, usually within a few days, it sometimes takes me a month or two to answer messages. Worse, I occasionally fumble important email. Because of this, it may be a month or more before I answer your message." And then he says, "If it's important, call me on the phone. I'm in the phone book." So he does live what he says. You know, he puts his money where his mouth is. But I will say that, you know, how many people know how to do an automated email response? And I don't know, was this a wireless connection you were mailing me from?
No, this was
from home?
The robot on Unix.
Okay,
Just
but
Unix robot.
your
It's a
original
shelter.
mail, were you at the airport when you mailed me?
No, I was.
Okay, you were home, okay.
Just sat down.
I was going to say,
plugged it up.
he is a Luddite, but he's probably the most technically sophisticated Luddite in history. So you do have to kind of qualify it. And I'll just share with you 3 nuggets from his book, because it is a wonderful book full of Cliff Stollisms. In one chapter called "The Arrogance of Techies," he says, "I've invested my life in science and technology, but I am a skeptic. My questioning grows not from a distaste of computing, but rather because I love computers. I worry that the field is mired in hyperbole and overpromotion. These absurd predictions create inflated expectations and ultimately the loss of credibility." I think that's very, very accurate. I think the web has actually accelerated that or actually magnified that in a lot of ways. And one of the big things we have to worry about in terms of the wild development of the web is authenticity, credibility, authoritativeness. He also talks about the tyranny of the ugly computer, and he says every systems designer should repeat Yale professor David Gerlerter's thesis: technology's most important obligation is to get out of the way. I think that's words to live by. And you know, I'm a geek. I mean, I love technology, but you can't argue with that philosophy. And then thirdly, the only computer book I know of with a recipe for banana bread. I'm not sure how it got in there. He says, "Math, of course, means recognizing those problems which simply aren't numerical. If you need 2 bananas for each loaf of banana bread, what'll you do with the overripe bunch in your kitchen?" And he has to list the actual recipe itself at the bottom in a footnote. "Mash 2 ripe bananas and mix with 2 eggs, 2/3 cup sugar, 1/3 cup warm butter, 2 cups of flour, and 2 teaspoons baking flour. 1 1/4 hours at 350 degrees Fahrenheit in a 9 by 5 by 3 loaf pan." So there you have it. In any case, you guys, the audience, sounds like you kind of know where Cliff's coming from. I'm here to play devil's advocate, I think.
Why are you on the side of the devil? Why pick? Why not be an angel's advocate? Why not say, "Hey, I'm on the side of God and truth, justice, and the American way," or at least, you know, Bill Clinton, if you can't pick.
Because that wouldn't be interesting. I mean, you know, you have to play devil's advocate with somebody like you, because obviously, if you agree with everything you say,
I agree with everything I say.
Fucking say. No. I think, you know, if you go through Cliff's book, he is so logical and rational that you find yourself agreeing despite yourself, at least in my case, because I do think technology has enhanced our society. I do think the web has enhanced. Well, I was getting to that, okay?
The web has enhanced our life, you just were about to say.
Yeah, okay. 3 ways it's enhanced mine.
How many hours do you spend behind it every day?
How many hours do I spend on the web every day?
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be asking you these questions. I spend, you know, I'm one of your addicts, basically. I'm one of your addicts. I mean, I spend a lot of time on the internet.
Is that enhancing your life, or is that making your life more unenhanced?
Well, hey, if it's raining out and, you know...
it rains every day in Seattle.
I know. That's what I mean.
If it's raining out, you get to spend time in front of a computer?
Hey, yeah. You know, I can show, you know, I have a screensaver showing scenes from Hawaii. I mean, that's an enhancement. No, the biggest way I think the web has impacted, or internet really has impacted my life, is through email. I mean, I think email is a definite advance. I can communicate with my dad who lives in Bakersfield on a daily basis in ways that I couldn't do before. And you can say, use a telephone. I couldn't send him photos that I had just taken of the family or our little dog or a special episode in my life. Digital camera, within seconds I can send him a picture. This is who I am, this is what I'm doing right now.
50 years ago, your father might have lived next door or in the same neighborhood.
Yeah, but you can't roll back the clock or change society and say, because
we now think that we're in close communication with someone, when in fact, which is more meaningful? A visit to him with your family, or uploading some crudely taken pictures? Which is the more
yeah, in the case of my dad, maybe I don't want to be there with him every day, Cliff. Come on. No, I think you can take reductionist arguments on every point you make, but in reality, we do want to deal with the practical world. And my father would still live in Bakersfield if the web didn't exist. And he would still live in Bakersfield if half the technology advances in our society didn't exist.
Would he live there?
So you have to play the hand you're dealt, essentially.
And what I'm asking is, what's the cost of the hand that we're being dealt? What I'm asking is, for every good thing that the internet delivereth unto us, I'll bet there's a cost. And the cost isn't just the $15.95 a month for your ISP. It's not just the $2,000 every 3 years for a new computer. It's not just the several $1,000s for new software that everyone but journalists have to pay. No, it's the cost of our time, which is far more precious than any of those things. I log onto the web and I watch my life dribble out my modem at 56.6. I watch 5 hours of my evening go poof. At the end of it, I don't feel like a better person. I feel like I'm less of a human being than I would if I'd spent those 5 hours doing something else. Sure, there's instantaneous uploading of the picture that you just took, but how long did it take you to get to that instantaneous uploading? How long did you fool around learning the blittity-blit photo scan? How long did it take you to get the communications protocols in place? Well, integrated over 2 years, you say, hey, it was instantaneous last night, but you add up hours and hours over many months. How much time do you spend keeping your system up and running when you could be spending it fooling around with someone else? And I'm asking myself these questions more than you, because, hey, just like you, I love computers. I think computers are wonderful. It's not computers and technology that bother me. It's the cult of computing that gives me the heebie-jeebies.
I think that's a misstatement, Cliff, if you take your book at face value, because you're saying computers don't belong in schools, they don't belong in libraries. That has nothing to do with the cult of computing. That has to do with people trying to make real advances in our educational system.
Advances in education?
Yeah.
Advances?
They're trying.
I visited a kindergarten in Columbus, Ohio, right? They got 2 or 3 Pentium grade computers installed, right? What did they get rid of? The block table in the sandbox. This is an advance in education, to bring computers into the kindergarten. I visited a 2nd grade where the kids, mostly boys, but the kids did wonderful copy and paste from clip art, and then they pasted into their homework, and their parents would say, wow, this is terrific, you put a butterfly on a page, while the kid who was using Crayolas and pencils drawing butterflies and drawing insects, hey, that kid was marginalized. Hey, you're not doing something nifty and professional and computerish.
Right.
This is an advance in education. I visited high schools where I ask about, hey, tell me about Shakespeare. And the kids, hey, they're really good at Alta Vista, and they fire up the search engine, download all sorts of stuff about Macbeth and Hamlet and things like this. But when I say, hey, do a monologue, do a soliloquy from Hamlet, They look at me and said, oh, I can get that. I'll just look under soliloquy in Hamlet.
Right.
But when I say tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, they give me this blank stare and say, huh? Oh, I'll search that up for you on the web. What's happening is our educational system is turning into a, let's look it up on the net, and turning away from a, let's perform Shakespeare. Let's actually think about what Hamlet was trying to say. Let's think about who Lady Macbeth was. No, let's just get the facts off the web.
Are you saying toss the computer out of that process entirely?
Yeah,
in other words,
sure.
you can't, basically you can gain nothing from the computer? Or is the computer just being misused, or is we're in a transitional phase where we don't know how to use the tool properly enough?
The first thing I'm asking is, there's been no public debate on this at all.
Well, right.
It's not like people of Congress have said, hey, I think it's a good question as to whether we need computers in schools. Let's ask that at public hearings. No, everyone says, oh, it's important for the FCC, not the National Educational blah, 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 or some high school group of educators. No, the Federal Communications Commission says, we are going to tax everybody's telephone bill so that we can wire all of our high schools together, and we will control how the money goes. But what does the FCC have to do with high school education? More importantly, who says that this is the best way to spend money in education? Maybe we, instead of spending billions of dollars wiring our high schools, we should be spending billions of dollars making high school classes smaller. Maybe we should be spending billions of dollars on buying telescopes for every high school. Maybe we should be spending billions of dollars installing hydrogen alpha filters for all of these telescopes. Maybe we should be spending this money on training high school teachers. Maybe we should install... What am I talking about? Up in Vancouver, British Columbia, I visited some high schools where they got a grant, $150,000 Canadian, okay, $149,000 American. They got this big grant to wire all their schools together, right? They got this huge grant to get all their schools hooked up on the internet. And the reason for this is to study the effect of clear cutting on the forest environment, because clear cutting is a big problem over in Vancouver. Right. So they got this grant, the kids are happily plunking away and looking at rainforests and clear cuts. But the school teachers couldn't get $100 to rent a bus to drive over to Nanaimo to look at a real clear cut. Which is the more impressive activity? Which one will these kids learn more from? Downloading some pretty pictures off the internet, or visiting a place where the trees have been chopped down? Which one?
Well, why do we have to choose between the two?
I mean, they have to choose between them. They got $100,000 for the computing and not a nickel for the bus. There are second grade classrooms where they can get all the paper they need for a laser printer, but they can't get construction paper. How come? Because, it's funded under a technology grant.
Right.
Well, who says that second graders, that fourth graders need this technology? Does it improve the classroom, or does it make it worse? As someone who loves computers, as somebody who's vested in them, I'm worried that our schools are being sold down the river. And it upsets me deeply to find so little public discussion about whether this is a good thing or whether it might be a bad thing.
Right. I do think that I do feel that society is in a transitional phase where we're learning.
Is there a time?
Has there ever been a time?
Has there ever been a time that we have not been in a transitional phase?
Well, no, yeah. I mean, when I was going to school,
I'm parsing what you just said.
Yeah. When I was going to school, I mean, there was a set curriculum, there was a set way of doing things.
And there's a set curriculum today, except it's changing every year.
No, I think it's changing. I think computers and technology are changing the way we view education, the way we do education.
I remember when I was in elementary school, it was public school number 61 in Buffalo, New York. Ours was a high-tech elementary school because we had film strips. Remember film strips? Teacher would pull down the screen, bzzz, dim the lights, turn on the projector. Every 20 seconds it would go beep.
Right.
All of us kids, we'd be all charged up. We'd be sitting there, public school 61, we'd grab the gear shift of our brain and go and shift into neutral.
Right.
For the next hour, we didn't have to think.
Yeah. You were flatlining. Is that the expression?
We were freewheeling. And, hey, seems to me to be intuitively obvious that, okay, well, I'll ask myself this and answer it myself. What's the most important thing in a classroom? A good teacher and some motivated students. And anything that separates them, whether it's a film strip, an educational movie, an instructional TV, a high bandwidth multimedia display, an internet link, anything that separates a teacher from a student is going to be wonderful fun for the kids. They'll love it. They'll think it's great. The teachers will like it too because they get an hour to goof off. But it'll be of dubious, if not negative value for learning. Hey, you've seen as many film strips as I have,
yeah,
Paul.
Yeah.
I mean, name 3. Okay, now, name 3 teachers who had a profound and lasting influence on your life.
Well, I can do that.
You name 5.
Yeah.
Yet somehow or another we think that, oh, the internet, because it's interactive, is going to push aside the old film strip, video, television, movie, instructional radio model. No, because it's interactive, it's going to be good. Well, my claim is because it's interactive, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
And the big lie of the educational technologists, the big fib, the big myth, the big it ain't so goes like this. Log into my website, check out this new CD-ROM. Look at this cool new computer program because this one will make learning fun. It's a lie. Because in my experience, learning isn't fun. Learning takes work. You've got to do your homework. Learning requires discipline. Learning requires responsibility. Learning requires commitment from a teacher, commitment from a student. Learning isn't something that we ought to be able to click on with a mouse and, oh, I'm smart. And the rush from a quality education is not an adrenaline flash 20 seconds later from shooting down some Martians. No, it happens months, years, sometimes decades later. To me, I'm concerned that we in technology are lying, that we're not telling the truth. We're trying to sugarcoat an M&M with chocolate on the inside and say, eat this pill and you'll get a high score on the SAT and then you'll be certified smart. My claim is that a quality education not only isn't that easy, but by making it look that way, we're not telling our students from kindergarten up to college the truth.
Yeah. Well,
and I hope I'm wrong.
What would be your solution? I mean, the problem is that the funding, the infrastructure, everything is going toward computers in classrooms, toward computers in education, computers in libraries. That's where the whole momentum of society is heading.
And my claim is at least we should have a public discussion. People should stand up and say, oh yeah, this is what we want, rather than just say, oh, hop on the bandwagon. I don't have a simple, easy solution. I yearn for it. I yearn for that wonderful web page. You know, type in this URL and you'll get a good education. I don't believe it's so. Quite the opposite. I think that for a quality education, you have to work long hours. You have to think really hard. And no crutch, whether it's made by Intel, Motorola, programmed by Apple, Microsoft, or anyone else, no electronic crutch will generate more creative, more committed students. In fact, I think that they will make less committed, less creative students. After all, the one paradigm that exists across the board of computing is copy and paste, which when you were a kid, and me, was called plagiarize.
Right.
But you know yourself, that's what high school kids do when they use the web. Hey, they're assigned something to do, you know, fire up the web and, you know, copy from over here, paste it over there, change the type to Gothic, or sign your name at the bottom, and hand it in. At least once upon a time, they had to do this with pen. Now it's trivially simple.
Yeah, right.
I hope I'm wrong. I don't want to be right. It saddens me to think this way. But it also saddens me to watch our schools being undercut by a wave of computer obsessive educators. It saddens me to watch our school libraries being turned into multimedia rooms. Hey, principals, I'm sorry.
No, I think if you go back to how this process basically got started, though, Cliff, you do reach a fundamental issue, which is that a lot of these kids basically came to the schools wanting to use computers more in the classroom because they had them at home. I remember giving talks to elementary school kids, and they'd have a computer sitting back in the corner, or they wouldn't have any computer in the classroom at all. And I'd ask them how many had computers and used computers at home. And almost in this area, Seattle, almost every hand would go up. Obviously,
did you ask them how many had TV sets at home?
No.
Well,
I assume everybody had TV sets at home.
Look, TV sets are ubiquitous. Why don't we spend $1 billion putting a TV set in every classroom?
Well,
hey, isn't that a good idea? TV is electronics. It's high bandwidth.
We
tried it and it failed.
Right.
Through the 70s and 80s, we wired the classrooms. TV education, educational TV channels. There was once something called the National Association of Educational Television Stations. What's happened to it? It's become PBS. It doesn't broadcast educational
But you're still
TV.
not addressing my issue, which is the way the kids communicate in today's world. They go home after school, they send email to friends, they're on chat rooms, things like that. Their world is a monitor and a screen-based world.
15 or 20 years ago, their way of communication was the telephone.
To ask them not to have that in the classroom, they are going to think is depriving them.
Yeah, of course it's depriving them. To ask them not to have candy bars and marshmallows and chewing gum in the classroom is for them to say it's depriving them. To tell them that, no, you cannot bring a Pokemon or an electronic Nintendo set into the classroom is depriving them as well. I have no question that kids love computers. I don't doubt that kids will happily spend hours, if not whole years, playing around on computers and loving it. No. If the purpose of a school is to please children, then go right ahead and wire them. If the purpose of a school is to teach computer literacy, go ahead and wire them. If the purpose of a school is to make kids more adept at using computers, go ahead and wire them all together. But at least be honest about it. Don't claim that the purpose of a school is to get a good education.
What about the tool aspect, though? I mean, basically computers... If computers are a neutral tool...
Computers are a neutral tool?
No. I'm saying, no, wait. You're missing my point, which is the kids view it as a tool.
I'm repeating your point.
If you took the pen and the paper away from them, you'd be accomplishing your same goal. You'd be saying there's less separation between that student and that teacher if you take the pen and pad away from them.
If
you take the book away from them, there's less separation between the student and the teacher.
And if I want to teach Shakespeare, I want them not to be writing compositions, but I want them to be standing up saying, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, creeps in this petty pace from day to day, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools.
I told you it would happen. I told you it would happen.
And it did.
I knew it would.
And what I'm getting at is, of course, forcing a kid to write a composition about something that they ought to be performing is to deny them the opportunity and the joy of performance. That they ought to be, and by rights should be, performing these things. To say, okay, kids, we're going to learn music by setting up your computer to play MIDI and composing a symphony on, rather than saying, okay, it's clarinet lessons now, is to say, oh yeah, the computer, the technological device is the center, rather than the performance. Right. I mean, hey, a lot of times I visit a school, high school or elementary school, and the principal very proudly says, I've got to show you our computer lab. I go over there and there's row and row of computers and lots of kids, usually boys, all plunking around on the mouse and pretending not to be playing computer games, but really are. My first question to them is not, oh, using Macintoshes or PCs, or what's your bandwidth, or how much does it cost? No. My first question to the principal is always, what did this room used to be before it became a computer lab? And the answer is telling. Oh, this computer lab, it used to be a music studio. Oh, our computer lab here used to be the art room. Oh, it used to be the library. But it's now our multimedia lab. Yeah. There's a cost, and the cost is, oh, we don't have funding and space and time and personnel to teach music lessons. It's not important for our kids to learn art, but it is important to get marketable skills to learn computers.
Yeah, okay, well, just one more.
What I'm getting at is
We're going to open it up for questions. I want to do that. But, you know, I think we're having a fundamental miscommunication here where really I see everything as computer-based tools. I mean, I know what you're... How many graphic artists today work without a computer?
And look at the graphic art that we get.
That doesn't, I mean, that is an issue of quality. It's not an issue that's related to the technology itself.
How many high school students have readable
managing
penmanship?
The technology.
How many high school students
How long is it going to be before the only way you'll get Hamlet is on a screen? That's all I'm saying, Cliff. Basically, you're going to have these tools. There's no way of avoiding it. Manage them, use them wisely.
Why is it that the computer is always seen as some neutral tool? I've never seen a...
I'm not saying it's a neutral tool. I'm just saying you have to use it smartly. You have to use it intelligently.
I've never seen I've never gone to a screwdriver users group, and I've never visited a city where the Board of Education says, let's put a radial arm saw on every kid's desk. What's this love affair with calling it a tool? Hey, isn't this microphone an audio tool? Isn't this over here a transportation tool? Well, up ahead, overhead, I see some illumination tools. Everything is a tool, and every tool is neutral. My claim is calling something a tool is a meaningless statement. What I want to know is, how does it affect our education?
When you say a computer goes into a wood shop, the wood shop becomes a computer lab, you're replacing one tool with another tool.
Yeah, and we end up with no carpenters. When the school gets rid of its auto mechanic shop or its plumbing shop and instead puts computers there, guess what happens? We end up with a society with neither auto mechanics nor plumbers. Result around the Bay Area, I don't know around here, is I can hire a computer programmer for $50 an hour, but plumbers charge $125. How come? Because every school in the Bay Area teaches computing. None of them teach plumbing anymore. Well, look, when you encourage both the idiots and the smart kids to go into computing, and you tell all of them to stay away from plumbing, neither our programs nor our pipes are going to hold water.
With that, I think we should open it up to questions. Right down here.
Hold on.
Oh, yes. I'm supposed to say, yeah, there's a microphone here in the center of the aisle. Please use that if you're handicapped or can't get up there. We do have a mic floating around the audience. He'll throw it to you, right.
How do you get down to the even deeper question that our education is basically preparing people for jobs and not talking about the important questions about who are you, what is meaning in life, how are we going to save the environment? How do we get education to do that? Oh, mine works and yours doesn't.
Am I the only person who's infuriated by the idea that our schools should be teaching marketable skills rather than teaching who we are and why we are, teaching a sense of history and a sense of health? I'm outraged by this.
How do you do it?
What?
What I'm asking is, because the money is going this way, how do we change the schools? That's what I'm asking you. How do we get them to think about the meaning of life?
I wish I knew and I don't know, because every student that I bump into who's got their head stuck into cyberspace says, oh, I need more bandwidth. I need a faster processor. Hey, can you tell me about this cool new computer game? No, I had thought that...
What is our first step? I mean, if we were to leave here today,
I should think we would
make a difference, what would we do?
I should think...
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing. I'm asking for a real... Yes, and I know some wonderful teachers, but it's the business interests who are pushing us to do this.
Yes, hey, you don't need to be a flaming Bolshevik or even an enlightened educator to ask the people who are pouring these millions of dollars into bringing computers into the classroom, whether it be our brethren in Redmond or down Silicon Valley. do they really have education as their primary interest?
Oh, I agree with you. I'm asking for a very practical
You're asking for a
change.
suggestion? I have none. Much as I wish it were in my heart and in my mind, my claim is a quality education, which I've yearned for and have never touched even the hem of its garment, is a tough thing to get. It takes years of study and work. What I think we need is to give teachers not just a decent salary, which they don't get, but a sense of social respect and esteem, such that when someone says, "Oh, I'm a teacher," we say, "Wow, I place you upon a pedestal," not the CEO of some IPO who's just made $1 billion on paper. That's at least step one. Step two should be to say, "Oh, librarians ought to be genuine book lovers, not information specialists who come off saying, 'Oh yeah, I can find it for you on the internet,' but people who love books and the printed word." Step three ought to be to say, "Hey, all of you educational technologists who have instilled this very expensive and elaborate computational bureaucracy, hey, get out of the schools. Turn our schools more into places for learning and less into a place for instruction and training." But again, what I'm saying is it works at least orthogonal, if not diametrically against this, "Oh, we got to get our kids jobs." Beyond me, I don't have a magic bullet at all. Question, comment?
Yeah, right here.
Me?
Yeah.
May I hold it? Thank you. First of all, in regarding what you were saying about technology, I teach 8th grade, and I have 4 computers, and no kid has ever come into my room and asked, can he jump on the computer? Because I do my best to have something interesting and worthwhile for them to do that relates to who they are and a clearer expression of what that is on a day-to-day basis. In response to what you said about what you can actually do, I don't know how much reference material there is in your book, but find articles and go to the Kinko's and copy them and give them to teachers and give them to students, give them to whoever you can outside of school, because teachers don't often have the time to read current material, nor is there a system in place for, there's a lag in research to education for about 10 or 15 years. You can bet that at Microsoft it's about 11 seconds.
At least for teachers, give them something that no one knows about called prep time, which is time during the day that you can prepare your lesson. Second thing, if you gotta bring technology into the classroom, why is it always computers? Why cannot technology be something like an Airtable for doing physics? Why can't technology be a bunch of switches and lights to teach basic electricity? Technology, hey, in 2nd grade, the technology that science teachers ask me for is they say, I need magnets, bar magnets. But you can't have them in 2nd grade anymore because they erase the discs and screw up the monitors.
Yeah, that's right.
So instead, they get computer simulations of magnets. I mean, hey, check out your local 2nd grade.
Virtual magnets.
The other thing is, if you really need high tech in the classroom, I'll bet give each teacher a personal photocopier, a Xerox machine for every person and for every teacher in the school. The teachers will love it because they won't have to wait in line at the office anymore. And if it breaks or crashes, the class continues. Try teaching a class with 20 or 30 kids on laptops. Each time one of them goes glunk and crashes, the whole class stops, dead end, and you have to start all over again. Well, at least with pencil and paper, you don't spend 5 minutes booting everybody's laptop at the beginning of the classroom. You can say, okay, we're going to start writing, and people start writing. What I'm getting at is the computer is said to be more efficient, but is it more efficient for teaching, or is it way less efficient? At least as important of a question is, what are we teaching? On the surface, of course, it's history and English and literature. Underneath it, though, my claim is, using a computer, we are teaching them that when you have a question, don't open a book, don't ask your neighbor, don't go to a teacher, look it up on the web. If this is the purpose of an education, then all you have to do is supply me with a list of URLs and I'll be happy. Don't give me a book, don't teach me to read, just give me a bunch of icons, and That's my education.
Right back there, and then we'll come up here.
One point that I think that's being missed in the discussion here is that most knowledge is being transferred to CDs and to the web. And to
most knowledge is going on CDs? Oh, come on. I'm sorry, I take no prisoners.
What was could you repeat the question, Cliff?
Well, I'll repeat the question. For those of you on drugs, I'll repeat the question.
Right.
The claim is made that most knowledge today is on CDs and on the web.
I said, no, I did not say that.
Wait,
let me ask my question, then you can jump in. Give me a second here. The point is, things like, if you look at encyclopedias, most professional knowledge, most technical knowledge, and what I mean by that is things that were previously on books and usually accessed through books are being transferred to the web, to CDs, and to computer media. And they're a lot more current, a lot more easily accessible. And when you look for, I'll give an example of my 7-year-old. My 7-year-old comes home from school. He is determined to write a paper on his Russian dwarf hamster. And you can look at any encyclopedia or ask your teacher, and there's nothing on Russian dwarf hamsters. Yet he gets on the web and he finds 2 websites that have 30 to 40 pages of information on the history and biology and different colors of Russian dwarf hamsters. He writes in ink and paper, by the way. He refused to type his paper when he was 7. A paper on Russian dwarf hamsters. Now, the ability to access that kind of knowledge, which is not present in the school library and is not current, and that's what I think is an important part of what they're trying to bring. And I think that, books, I know we're here at a book festival, but 20 years from now, most books will probably be electronic and not on paper. And people don't want to hear that.
There's definite resistance to that notion.
Okay, my claim is that it's a myth that one of the big lies is that you can get knowledge from a CD or from the internet, that the web is filled with knowledge. My claim is, and I think it's intuitively obvious to me, but perhaps nobody else, that the information highway is crammed filled with data. There's tons of data out there, megabytes, but data is bits and bytes and numbers and words. There's a long distance between data and information. Information has timeliness, utility, accuracy. Information, unlike data, has an application. Okay, I grant that there's a little bit of information amongst the megabytes of data online. But I think there's a long, wide ocean between information, which we are awash in, and knowledge. Knowledge, unlike information, implies understanding. What turns the little cranks inside of my brain is not information, but ideas.
But what about this point that you can get the depth or the specificity?
Depth, you can get the shallowness and...
Well, no, you eat Russian dwarf hamsters. I mean, you can't find anything about it in traditional media, but you can find it on the web. And there's a lot of other examples about that. What's your point on that? I mean,
two points. First, do I expect an 8-year-old to be writing a paper which has depth and current research in it, or do I want an 8-year-old to tell me about her own experiences, to speak to, oh, I have a pet gerbil, or a pet whatever this animal is, or I want a pet whatever. What I am seeking is not world-class research or even current research on these things. Quite the opposite. What I'm yearning for is personal experience and, for that matter, performance. In that sense, I want to hear a story about them. I want somebody to walk into a classroom and tell me a story about this. In my own field of astronomy, I doubt that there's a high school kid in the country that does not know what a black hole is. They're always coming up to me and talking about black holes and wormholes and time horizons. It's a common thing in high school students. Frankly, I don't care about black holes. I don't think black holes are a reasonable area of research for high schoolers to be engaged in. In fact, I don't think it's reasonable for undergraduates to be doing cutting-edge research or even reporting on it, on black hole and gravitational research. What I'd like a high school student to do, and I find rarely happens, is to be able to walk outside under a dark sky and say, that's the North Pole. Over there, that's the constellation Orion, and over there, those are the Pleiades. What I want is someone to be able to recognize things in real life, not simply download things about current physics relationships. And for that, to find your way around the night sky, and I suspect to find your way amongst pets, I think it's far more important that we spend time in and around pets, spend time under the night sky, spend time performing, doing these things, rather than checking out the web to find out what other people have to say about it. What I want is the creative endeavor, not the copy and paste of what someone else has done. But then I hope I'm wrong.
But nonetheless, when you look at education, traditional education, which I think you're advocating, involves looking things up in books, right? I mean, a lot of it is reading books and learning from books. That's an important part.
Have I been talking about that? I thought I said what we need is better teachers, respect for teachers, esteem for teachers, giving teachers enough time to prepare lessons. My claim is that a computer will not improve a good teacher. And I don't think a computer will improve a bad teacher either. I don't think a good school is much improved by a computer, and I don't think a bad school is improved by one either. In fact, I suspect that a good quality teacher, because a computer means that they don't have as much time to be with their students, probably the good teachers made less capable by a stack of computers around them. At least I haven't seen.
Well, I mean, do you think that children should read Shakespeare? I mean, should they read the book or just have their teacher recite it? Should they read the plays?
I should think that children should themselves be performing, and not just Shakespeare, which I think is fairly advanced.
But just to perform, you have to be able to read the play first and rehearse it.
I should think that step one would be to make your own play, not read somebody else's, but to stand up and say, you know what I did last night? I was with my two friends, and we had a dog, and we found a flea on the dog. It was really little. That's all that happened to me last night. And sit down. To me, I'm impressed when a young child does that. I don't care that the kid didn't read it. I care that the kid recognized a real experience and was able to speak out in public about it. But then, hey,
I'll let the next person go.
Well, I'm here to perhaps offer the suggestion that the Luddite and the techno geek might consider a place where they could meet and move ahead. I have a personal vested interest in purveying of books, particularly books that are out of print. Some weeks ago, I came across, I think, a very important book on the cultural relations of America and Japan during the years of 1941 to 1945. And by looking at the activities of both cultures during that time, it became apparent that there were strong movements within both cultures to get the warlords out of the way and to, in effect, perhaps create a Japan much like we know today. Unfortunately, as we all know, the militarists prevailed, the bomb was dropped, and we had to get to today's world in a different, more tragic fashion. Now, some weeks after discovering this book, I was able to take the internet, describe this book, and yesterday a man in Rome bought it from me. 2 years ago, I'd have been sitting in the bookshop with that book dusty on my shelves, pulling on people's sleeves and saying, this is something that's important and should be read and understood for today's world. I think we need 2 steps. Cliff, you've taken the first one, and that's to recognize the problem and the potential enemy. The next step is to say, if that's the problem, how do we recognize, Paul, what's going on in the world today and get the best of both of those for all of our benefit? That allows me to share the thoughts of a Japanese man from a decade ago with a man today in Rome that's trying to make a better world.
I'm sorry, but I don't think lack of information is a major problem in our society today. I don't think I'm unconvinced that the big problem amongst our society, amongst individuals, is I don't have enough information. I don't have enough books. I don't have enough news. I don't have fast enough access to the Dow Jones averages. I don't think that's a pressing issue in our age today. Quite the opposite. Well, hey, I've never met anybody standing on a street corner, arm outstretched, saying, "Help, help, I need more information." Of course, there are many glistening jewels sitting out there on the internet awaiting discovery. How much time is wasted getting to them, integrated over all the people who spend hours every day and hours every night surfing around looking for them? I remember, can I spout for a minute?
Sure.
Okay, it's 1600 or so. Professor Faustus is out there. He's paging through. Remember Faustus? He's this guy, professor. He's paging through his books. He finds the magic word, says it. I won't say it right now, but he says this magic word. Poof! Over in the corner, there's Mephistopheles. Puff of smoke. Mephistopheles says, "Yes, mortal?" Faustus says, "I've got you under control. There's a pentangle, whatever. There's a five-sided thing right over your head, and I won't move it until you do what I say." And Mephistopheles turns to him and says, "Who are you, mortal?" And Faustus turns to him and says, "I am Faust. In every way, you're equal." The devil looks back at him and says, "Oh, yeah, what can I do for you?" Snickers to himself, and Faust says, "Hey, I want two things from you. Just two things. Omniscience and omnipotence." Devil snickers a little bit and says, "Sure, that's easily arranged. Sure, I'll do it for you. Just sign here on this piece of paper. There's a little price, of course. Your immortal soul. But don't let that bother you." Faust goes ahead, signs his name, and you can read any number of interpretations about what happens after that. Goethe is a good reference. My claim is that we are engaged in identically the same Faustian bargain today. The identical promise is being made by the techno-hucksters for the internet. After all, the internet is an empowering medium. It gives us power. And, hey, it delivers information, omniscience. We can all be universally smart because we have access to all the information online. Just one problem. Remember that dotted line we signed? What's the cost? The most precious thing we have, namely, our time on Earth. We watch our time dribble out the modems. We watch that of our students, of our parents, of the rest of society. The result, of course, is that we hardly know our neighbors anymore. They're stuck with their heads, sending us email. We don't get in touch with our parents because we're busy uploading JPEGs and GIFs of our children to them rather than going down to a small town in central California to visit them. We don't actually deal with human beings because we email them. Oh yeah, there's a price to it all right. And it cheeses me off that no one recognizes it or speaks to this price. Well, there's lots of things that are Faustian bargains. Lots of technology delivers such things. Look at the interstate highway system, which paved over a good portion of America so as to save us time. The same promise that the internet is supposed to do, save us time. Well, how many people have half-hour, 45-minute, hour-and-a-half commutes each way to work because the interstate highway system is supposed to save us time? How many people waste hours every day on the internet waiting for that damn web page to upload because the internet is supposed to save us time? If the internet is so great at saving us time, what happened to all the time that we saved? How come we're all busy? If the internet's supposed to make us so productive, why has American business productivity remained essentially flat over the past 20 years? If e-commerce is so effective and so efficient, why are they all running in the red? I've dodged your question. Next.
Next.
You dodged it well, thank you.
As a teacher, I found so far one good use for computers, and that is I've got 2 kids out of 150 who have physical disabilities, and it gives them a chance to get something down that I can read.
Yes, agreement. There's at risk of making it sound like I tolerate computers, I not only agree with you, but I feel that there is a number of places where computers have really neat applications, but they tend to be rare. They tend not to be the well-advertised ones.
Well, 2 out of 150 is pretty rare.
Yeah, one of them, for example, was a very stupid arithmetic program, teaches arithmetic, but a 25-year-old retarded woman spends 4 or 5 hours a day learning basic arithmetic from it because her tutor just wouldn't recite the addition and subtraction table to her for 5 or 10 hours, and she knew she needed to learn this. So I'm not saying there is no purpose whatsoever for them, but I quite agree with you. It's quite rare.
The second point, and I'm sorry this isn't really a question, I was just out on a middle school conference in Florida. The most pressing need for kids in education, and if you have not been in a classroom, then you need to step into one, is to be able to experience and practice life. So you ask deep and pressing questions like, who am I? And why am I confused? And why am I thinking about taking drugs? And you practice answers with kids. And I bought a book today on the meaning of picture books. A computer cannot recognize a child coming into a room who looks a little bit different than he did yesterday because he was just harassed by the school bully. I did. A computer cannot recognize the minute flicker in an eyebrow or a twitch in a leg that results from some internal confusion that cannot be because it won't get to the brain, but somehow has been registered by a body of a 7 or 8-year-old daughter sitting next to a parent at night.
Yes. A teacher can do far more. I'm reminded of the... There's a classic type of computer question that a computer will be well programmed to ask will be, what does 3 plus 4 equal? Well, the correct answer, I feel, is not 7, but who cares? The good answer, the good question, which a teacher can ask, but no computer can, is what does 7 equal? And there the answer is 3 plus 4, 12 minus 5, the square root of 49. The number of samurai in Kurosawa's best movie. The number of deadly sins. The number of dwarves. The number of seas. What were the wonders of the ancient world? Wasn't it the pyramids, the hanging gardens in Rhodes, the Library of Alexander? What were the 7 deadly sins? Greed, lust, gluttony, envy, Microsoft? Or for that matter, what does the German word Seebensacken mean? Seebensacken, you know, the baggage that you have to carry with you? The 7 bags that tell you the stuff that you have to bring on a trip? Here's a question. What does 7 equal that hangs into math, into world history, into ethics, into foreign language study, into American history? But it's a question that no computer can ask. And it develops answers that a good teacher can run far with. But hey, ask that question of InfoSeek sometime and see what the web delivers.
We've got time for about one more question, I think.
2 more questions.
And the 7 Hills of Rome. I'm an elementary school librarian. My wife is a first grade teacher. I think I can also speak for her in expressing a heartfelt thank you. I've read your other books. I have passed them along to parents at my schools who are big readers, and they've come back saying, wow, this is great stuff.
You should be doing this. I'm the wrong person to take on this because I'm a propeller head.
I speak out
like you. I mean,
I speak out all the time on it. I speak out all the time on it. 2 quick questions. One, since you're on to banana bread now, does that mean that you've perfected your chocolate chip cookie recipe?
Oh, it still evolves. Lately, what I've been doing with chocolate chip cookies is I'm exploring just why do they tell you to put baking soda or baking powder in. And so for the past year, every time I change the amounts of these things. Yes.
Also, have you read Neil Postman's End of Education?
The End of Education by Neil Postman. Oh, we're being broadcast on television. Those of you who are listening on TV, turn off your TV set right now, go to your library and get any book by Neil Postman. And then, yeah, Technopoly or The End of Education. It will tell you why the thing that's sitting in front of you, namely your television set, is an evil that doesn't belong in your life. But I don't speak to the audience here, who obviously has two live humans in front of them.
One more question.
I've been in technology since 1979, and my current job is I manage relationship managers. And those are people. Those are people that work with different technology groups to help them to be able to talk to each other. Because
why don't they use email? It's the latest thing. Yeah. Why don't they have collaborative websites, and that way they can go directly one to another? That way, with the cool new software that I saw, each person has a little place in a database, and they can communicate place to place, and they don't need people to use as intermediaries. Computers are the way to have communication. In fact, with the internet lately and high bandwidth, it's the coolest stuff. I mean, I read this cool software that gets rid of managers, and that way you get direct communication. And in the future, 20 years from now, that's the only way we're going to do it.
Yeah. One would think that, and they tried that, but they finally figured out they had to reinsert humans again in the center. So, but anyway, but the point I'm getting at is that my daughter started kindergarten this year, and I spent a very grueling year last year looking for a school for her to give her what I thought would be the right values and lives. And I remember looking at school after school, and after a while I made a decision. I'm going to look for the school with the least amount of computers in the kindergarten room.
So you picked a Waldorf school.
What?
You picked a Waldorf school.
No, actually, it wasn't, but she came out of a Montessori school. But I found a school to where they really specialized in relationships and social skills.
Relationship data?
Like social skills. Social skills. And
those are what?
Well, yeah. We're finding out because she's studying it now. But I just want to say that, there are alternatives out there. You don't have to just take this barrage of computers in schools, and you can look, and you got to pay. I mean, it's expensive to put them in schools like that. But there are alternatives, and there is hope.
Oh, you start me on. Can I spout for another minute?
Sure.
20 years from now, what schools will end up with all the computers, and which schools will end up with the teachers? Today, we think that the rich schools out in the burbs get all the computers, and the city schools get the teachers. They're impoverished because they get teachers rather than computers. 20 years from now, it'll turn around. People with money, parents with money, will recognize that a good teacher is worth paying. Who will get the computers? The inner city schools, because they won't be able to afford a good teacher. Seems to me obvious that the quality education will go with the quality teachers. As far as libraries are concerned, it cheeses me off to watch our libraries undercut by the technology that I love, because in the defense of literacy and liberty, our libraries are our best defense possible. It's our responsibility to use them and support them, and to keep them from being trashed by computational gizmos, by internet feeds, and by all sorts of very sterile and utterly boring but fascinating to children computers. It makes me very sad to watch our libraries and our public schools be slowly undermined by the idea of wiring them all and putting all of our kids online.
Thanks, Cliff. Well, Cliff will be around if you want to come up and ask questions
I can tell
later.
you about all truth.
That's right.
Is there time?
But thanks very much. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Oh, thanks to you. Thanks for your time.
Clifford Stoll is an astronomer at the University of California, Berkeley. His book, High-Tech Heretic, Why Computers Don't Belong in the Classroom, and Other Reflections by a Computer Contrarian, is published by Doubleday. For a different view on computers, join us next Saturday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern for Tim Berners-Lee with his new book, Weaving the Web. "48 Hours of Non-Fiction Books."